dam is low and the grass is long. Color on their roof is wrong. Dirt beside the shed is gone. It still feels like home.
Hi, I'm Nelly from Woodvale, Victoria, Australia, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about requirements. The three things that I really need you to remember today are to go to sales. Those sales will be at Spotlight and at Lincraft. Look out for them. Sometimes quilting rulers and quilting notions come down to 50% off. I know that's for a fact at Lincraft. eBay is another good place for you to have a look at for especially replacement blades, scissors and probably quick arm picks. And remember, when you're always buying your cotton and you're always buying your fabric, you need 100% cotton. 100% cotton is because it lasts a lot longer and it's a lot more durable, although polyester does lint less and leaves less lint in your sewing machine under your dog feeds. But we always use 100% cotton because we feel that that adds to the durability of the quilts. So here today on my cutting mat for you, I have a collection of things that I think that are the basic requirements that you need to be able to start quilting and to be able to start your sewing. First of all, I'll go through from the top down to the bottom. First, as I just said, 100% cotton. Now, there's two types of cotton that you can get. There's the Rasant and then there's the Gutermann. My machine likes the Gutermann, which is this one here with the brown ends. Again, most of the quilt shops sell this one. Occasionally this one is sold at the quilt shops, but I'm hearing that this one here has a polyester core. So I'm not too sure about that, but I know there's another friend whose sewing machine only takes Rasant, but mine actually works better with Gutermann. So it's up to you. Work out which one works best on your machine, but make sure it's always 100% cotton. The next thing you're going to need is a pair of scissors, just normal scissors. No pinking shears, no nothing like that. These scissors will be used for cutting off your cottons and maybe cutting off bits of fabric. You also need to get a second pair of scissors, and these ones will be for paper or card or sometimes cutting of your block designs and what have you out of the patterns and stuff like that. But you definitely do not ever use your fabric scissors to cut paper. You need a school ruler. I just call these school rulers. This is 30 centimetre. American girls should be 12 inches. These would be used as for half square triangles for marking from corner to corner. And also especially get a clear one, so that way there that you can actually see how the fabric's laying behind the ruler, which will make it easier for you to mark. Soft HB pencil. It's a HB pencil for marking your fabric. Sometimes you're going to mark where your 1/4 inch seam is, and sometimes you're going to draw your line for your half square triangles. It's a really good idea just to use a HB pencil, and it's soft and it can easily wash off the fabric, or even if needs be you can use your eraser to get it off. These erasers actually double up for using two things, one for removing your pencil and also for cleaning your cutting mat, which I'll go through at the end. 1/4 inch sewing foot, I've already discussed that in one of my videos. This is my Toyota one, this is what it looks like. As I said, always go and buy branded. Check out the back of your manual of your sewing machines, go and make contact with the company for your sewing machine is and see if you can get a branded one. That way, if it's incorrect, you most certainly have a guarantee that you will be able to work with. As discussed in other videos that I've used and you've always seen me use, I use the yellow knob quilting pins. I don't use the ones that have the flowers, and I don't use the ones that have the cupcakes or the pretty animals and stuff like that. The reason why I don't use those is because I believe that the wire in them is a different gauge and it's a soft gauge. Therefore it makes it harder for the sewing machine to actually skip over the pins. And a lot of the videos that you watch me that I filmed recently and stuff like that, you will see that my sewing machine sews quite well over the pins as long as that they're straight and they're pinned in on the angle facing towards the edge of the fabric. The machine will skip over quite well. You also need to get yourself a really good rotary cutter. This is a birch one. As you can see, it's pretty old. I've probably up for a new one. Blades can be quite expensive, but the cheapest way to buy your blades is I have found on eBay. These come in a pack of 20 for about $10 from a guy at Melton in a shop down there. He runs it out of the back of his garage. I find them a lot cheaper, and I find them to be quite successful and very good. They come in a little case and they contain oil. So the oil's in the case there, that which stops them from rusting. And just give them a bit of a wipe with some gentle paper towel when you're putting them on, and be careful not to cut yourself. You also need to get quick unpicks. These are, because if you make a mistake, you need to actually be able to unpick it. Best way I've discovered is you need a sharp one, and how you can test it out. This one here is a blunt one. So if you were to watch how much pressure I have to push on it, that is actually going to cause stress onto the fabric as you're unpicking it. So it's a really good idea that you get a nice sharp one. And here's a sharp one. It's a brand new one that I picked up recently, and you can see that the pressure that I had to use on that was a lot less than the yellow one. So never ever use a blunt quick unpick to unpick your work, because when you're unpicking it, you're actually going to cause stress and strain to the fabric that you've done, and you're going to move the fibres. And when you move the fibres to get it back in, to get it to sew it back again, it's going to move and it's going to stretch, so your 1/4 inch seam isn't actually going to be accurate anymore. You're going to need some rulers. When you go into the shop, you're going to see a ton of them. But really, basically, just to start out with, you're going to need a 4.5 inch square ruler. This one here, because most of the blocks that we sew in QBSA, which is Quilt Block Swap Australia, B group, are made up of 9 patch. And 9 patch is that there's 3 4.5 inch segments by 3 4.5 inch segments, so 3 3s are 9. So that's what makes it up. And you need to actually stop and square up each segment. If you fail to square up each segment as you go along, it's going to make your block to be inaccurate. So you need a 4.5 inch square ruler. You also use these for your half square triangles, because you need to use the diagonal line that goes across here when you're using them out and cutting them out. So you need to get one of those. And you see some of the girls have got a 6.5 inch one, and they may lay those on the block. Yes, you probably do need the 6.5 inch one, but as I said, this is the basic requirements for you to start and what you actually need in the beginning. So I would put the 6.5 inch one into the I must get list, but you don't need it immediately. You certainly need to get a long ruler. You need a long ruler like this for cutting your fabric. This is how you're going to actually use your rotary cutter to cut. I'm going to do another video shortly about cutting, and I'll explain it to you. But you need a long ruler. Don't get the ones that are really huge. Get just the 14 inch one like this. It's easy to manage. It's easy to turn when you're cutting it, because you're always only going to be cutting in the one direction. You don't cut round corners or anything like that. But these ones are actually quite easy to manageable. And finally, you're going to need another one, which is the 12.5 inch block one. What happens with this one is that when you have finished your block, you're going to pop it over the top of your 12.5 inch block, and you'll be able to see if it's square. If it's not square, this will give you a guideline for where you can trim it up. Sometimes it means that your seams might not have been actually spot on, but it's still a 12 inch block, and you've still got your points that are hidden out of the 1/4 inch seam allowance either side. It gives you a chance to square them up. Plus also, if you come with me to B group and you come and sew with me, we ask you to put the 12.5 inch block over the top of your work, so that I can easily see on photographs that it's accurate and that it's a size. So that way, therefore, if you've made a mistake, I can actually get you to resew it again, and it also gives you time to square things up, as we call it. And so you definitely need one of these blocks, these rulers here for your blocks. Finally, probably the most expensive item that you're going to buy is your cutting mat. My cutting mat is a metric mat. As you can see, I've had this cutting mat for probably about 25 years, and if you look after it, it can actually do pretty good. So the things that you need to do to look after your cutting mat, it needs to go into a bath. Now, I don't have a bath in my tiny house, but if you have a bath, you need to put 1/4 cup of vinegar into the bottom of the bath and soak your mat. You need to soak your mat on a regular basis to be able to pick out all these bits of fabric, as you can see here, that get stuck into the cuts. Because when you have your cutting mat and your rotary cutter actually digs into the mat to cleanly cut the fabric. So the fibres from the fabric are actually sinking into the cut lines. So it causes a lot of fluffing, and it causes deterioration to your mat. So once you've got it in your mat, you soak it in your bathtub with your 1/4 cup of vinegar, and then you just use gently. I've got an old scourer here, as you can see it's really old and daggy. That's the type of ones that you use. Just gentle rub around like this, and it will lift up the cotton, and it will lift up the the bits of fabric that are stuck there, and then wipe it with another rag that's an old one that's lint free. You never want to have anything that's lint onto your mat, because the lint will actually get stuck into the cuts and get stuck into the cracks. You can also take to it with a soft brush, but I actually, because I live in a tiny house, I can't actually soak mine. So mine's just always done with also using a rubber, and a rubber can actually go around and it can pull the lint out of the cracks like this by moving it around like that, and that will pull the fabric out of the cracks. Always store your mats flat, never actually roll them up, because that causes deterioration. If for some unknown means that your mat does get a little bit wonky due to heat, or due to age, it's a good chance that you can go and soak it in the bath with the vinegar and then lay it flat to dry, and that will help you to get your mat flat. And I've also heard of some ladies popping it under their mattress as well, and the weight of the mattress and the weight of them has actually flattened out the mats. But it's a really good idea to never ever store them anywhere else but on a really flat surface. So mine permanently lives on my sewing table. Anyway, ladies, I'd like to thank you so much again for joining me today, and very brief tutorial today about requirements. I know it's a bit nerve-wracking when you actually go into Spotlight and you go into Lincraft and you have probably about 3 or 4 meters per aisle, and there's probably about 4 of them with all the requirements, but what I've showed you today is the basic ones that you need. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the channel. Thank you.